Hello and welcome to Report Desk Africa. This is the program where we give you your weekly dose of insight into the stories that we have covered as reporters. And we do not just give you the stories, we also take a deep dive into the stories so that you can make sense of the stories way beyond the headlines. Welcome. My name is Blessings Mosugu.
And my name is Adeshawa Odeshoga. I'll be standing in for Bernard Akede, who is now in Edo State. Will be giving us live reports from the primaries across different political parties who will be participating in Edo governorship elections come September 2024. You're welcome to Report Desk Africa.
All right, without wasting time, Adeshawa, tell us what to expect from the Edo governorship primaries.
It's already started on a very, I don't know why elections in Nigeria have to be like this all the time, because it's already started on a very bad note. I must even spotlight the experience that Bernard had. Ever since he had been in Edo State, there are videos of him and his cameraman being harassed and other journalists being harassed. And I think we've gone past this stage where we have to keep talking about the safety of journalists, because they are an integral part of the election already. So, and if you continue to put journalists on the spot and in the harm's way like this, we'll get to a point where journalists will probably have the doubt in their minds to even cover an election. Now, in elections where you don't have journalists there, there's no transparency, there's little information, or there's almost nothing that we're going to get from it. So it's important that the INEC themselves have to reiterate and re-emphasize the safety of journalists during elections.
What you're seeing now are live feed from the Edo primaries, and just like Adeshawa said, it's been a very risky game, especially for the reporters that we have on ground there currently. They have been monitoring these elections, and elections in Nigeria, unfortunately, have begun to take a certain kind of trajectory where it starts off probably peacefully or not, but in the middle, we just see a pocket of violence here and there, and journalists are the ones taking the heat. They're the ones who are on the field to cover these this development, and it's becoming very discouraging for the journalists and even the participants as well. Like I said earlier, these are feed from the ongoing elections, and we're going to join them very shortly. And we also have Bernard, who will also join us very shortly to help us understand what's been going on in Edo State, because he's been there for a while and he has been covering it. Unfortunately, he had an incident, and thankfully wasn't too serious. He almost lost his phone. He had I think a wounded lip or something, but I'm glad he's healing from that. We see that the ruling People's Democratic Party, the PDP in Edo State, is having their primaries, and we've also seen, like I said earlier, pockets of violence, but it goes without saying that the elections will definitely still hold, and we are still monitoring the elections. So in no time, we'll be joining the primaries, and then we'll be giving you updates on how it's going. And of course, Bernard will also be joining us very shortly to update us as well.
Come on, where they run, they go.
Which people you need, Oga? Who is not needed? Please. Hello. Yes, come back.
Well, what you just saw is the live feed from Edo State. The results are about to be announced, and like we said, we have our correspondents on standby who will be joining us to help us understand what's going on. We see that the elections are going on, and I did mention that there's certain pockets of violence at Ishewa for a while now that have been recorded. It's so sad to see, like you said, that Nigeria is going through this path where we have elections, it's supposed to be free and fair, Definitely. But we already expect that something is going to go wrong. Is it that they don't want the leaders? We don't know. Is it that everybody wants, everybody's power hungry? We don't know. But I think that at this stage, it has to stop, because we have too many problems as Nigerians to now start dealing with violence during elections. And it's a tactic to discourage people from voting as well. And we've seen it play out time and time again, even in the presidential elections.
The fact that this is even happening at the primary level, because this is just where at the point where aspirants, then from aspirants, you get to pick candidates. Yeah. So I would go with the second reason you said, that it's just because they are power drunk. Because if indeed it was, if it concerns the interest of the people, I do not think being a governor or president in the current Nigeria that we have is something anybody would willingly want to go for. With the current challenges that, well, I would call it challenges that I believe that the current president is facing at the moment. Yeah. The policies upon policies, you're not even sure which one would work. But it looks as if the usual policies that we are being taught in economics in school is not even working for Nigeria at this point, because when you put one forward, it fails, another one is introduced. So why is that the same sport that people, maybe on a state level now, but it's still the same thing, it's still leadership, it's still governance, you're still governing over a group of people who are still Nigerians. So why is that same position you want to take it by, you're willing to take it by force, violence and all that? It just shows that, I'm sorry, but a lot of people, a lot of these politicians are just there for their selfish interests. And in 2024, if you are still talking about politicians holding positions for selfish interests, it looks as if hopes for Nigeria is very bleak, and we're not heading anywhere yet, yet.
Yeah,
it's quite unfortunate.
I mean, we just like you said, some of these people, we can't doubt the fact that a lot of them are, I wouldn't say that maybe there are not some genuine ones among them, but it's very few, it's a handful. And, we're talking about party propaganda. Earlier this morning, we were discussing the fact that a lot of times we focus our attention on the presidency, but we don't see that even on this, level, the governors and all of that still have work to do. But a lot of times they direct your attention to the presidency so that you won't see that they're, doing things. But let's go back to the live feed to see how it's progressing.
Distinguished members, gentlemen of the press, I, Dauda Lawal, by the power vested in me, by the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, pursuant to the Constitution of the party, as the Chief Returning Officer of the Edo State 2024 gubernatorial primaries of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. After carefully sorting the votes, hereby declare the results as follows. Number 1, Aslan U Odezua scored 0 votes. Number 2, Azorine Igotolo. Number 2, Ato SNA also scored 0 votes. Number 3, Azorine Igotolo scored 577 votes. Number 4, Al Osaze Felix Akabwe also scored 0 votes. Number 6, Martin Ufomobihi scored also 0 votes. Number 7, Obede Ehamo Omorege withdrew. Number 8, Omosede Gabriela Igwinidion, she also withdrew. While number 9, Mr. Philip Shaibu scored 1 vote. Omori Audrey Abosede Aduni Adiza to Adiza scored 0 votes. Total number of void votes is 06. I therefore declared Asorime Igodolo as the winner of just concluded primaries today with a total vote of 577. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, I hereby return elected as the candidate for the upcoming governorship election in Edo State. Congratulations, my brother.
Congratulations to Aisha Badal. Marvelous potential.
Well, that's still the live feed from the Edo primaries. Imagine the shock on our faces when we heard, you know, the vote for the current, you know, I think Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu. I think that this is the first time, Adeshewa, that we're not having that power of incumbency play out as much, you know, because I was going to ask before this live feed, we have Philip Shaibu, but we also have Aswe, who seems to be the people's choice. But you can't completely take out that power of incumbency, whether or not you're, you know, the governor by proxy or you're the governor itself. And by proxy, I mean the deputy, of course. So he was, you know, he had an edge because he was in power. But, you know, that was...
With 1 vote. I was going to say probably he was the one who voted himself. Because with 1 vote, that was, I don't know if I'm allowed to use this, it was quite humiliating because for a sitting deputy governor with just 1 vote within his own party, I mean, there are so many things that are just woven around that particular result. And congratulations to Aswe Ighodalo. I mean, it was just obvious that it's the people's choice, and I hope that it's the choice of the entire Edo State because he has a larger battle in front of him to deal with come September 21. But I don't know what is going on in the minds of Philip Shaibu now, but you know, it's politics and it's a very dirty game, and he should be able to withstand shocks like this one.
Yeah, I mean, just accept defeat. So the truth is, when you want to consider how people vote, right, a lot of times it's just basically it's the level of transparency. It shows level of transparency in how people perceive you, right? For him to have had just 1 vote, it's possible that people do not think he's done enough, you know, because most times in Nigeria, when you're the deputy anything, it's like you're a figurehead, right? I think it's just a few times that we've seen the vice president actually take, do something in the country. A lot of times you just have president and vice, and then we don't even know the vice president, or we don't know what he's done, you know. And so a lot of times it's like the vice president or the deputy anything is just a matter of, you know, figurehead. It's just there doing nothing. So for people to have voted him less than they voted, you know, Aswe, it's probably because they see a lot of prospect, and, you know, like you said, it's the people's choice. So they're hoping, we're really hoping, and everybody's obviously looking forward to what he's going to do now, because the elections are just the preliminary stages, let me just put it that way. Now it's time to take action. Now it's time to see what you can do. It's not just by rejoicing and playing fancy song, oh, you've won. It's time to see what you can actually do.
Another thing to consider is that maybe not all the delegates were actually, that took part in this process, because just 600 of them, counting the votes, about 577 voted, 77, voted, excuse me, Asue Ighodalo. And then I think 3 cancelled or 6 voted, votes, and some people withdrew and all that. So it just appears that this is probably like a decision of a few who were allowed to, participate in the voting process. But notwithstanding, even with the few people who were allowed to participate, it goes to show that majority were for Ighodalo, while maybe those who were not allowed to participate were probably maybe for Shuaibu. But I would doubt if their numbers will still supersede those that eventually participated in this one.
But anyways, very quickly, we have joining us now the man behind, the person who has been covering the elections back to back. And like we said earlier, he had an incident, and we're glad that it wasn't too serious. It was serious, to be honest, but at least it wasn't too critical. And that's News Central's Bernard Akede, who's presently in Edo State, bringing us live updates from there. Hello, Bernard, can you hear us? All right, Bernard, before we talk about Asue Ighodalo's win, can you bring us up to speed on what it has been like? We hear that it's been a roller coaster, and of course you also had an incident. What has it been like, you covering the primaries, especially for the APC and now the PDP's primaries? What has it been like for you?
Before I do that, I have a guest who is with me here. Please hold on. Apologies. It's rowdy here, so we have people crossing the camera. But I'll quickly take the guest here while he waits, because it's going to be very soon. So he'll tell us what the experience has been like. Can you introduce yourself to us, sir?
Okay. My name is Sinadi Sawa. I'm from Oredo Ward 1. We have 12 wards in Oredo. As you can see, all the delegates in the whole 192 wards, they are all here. And so far so good. This primary was peaceful. I pray people will learn from this primary. You can see everybody's here. I congratulate Asue Ighodalo. This is our next government. Thank you.
Okay. Now we see that Asue Ighodalo won with a landslide result, 577, I think. And the deputy governor had only 1 vote, while every other candidate had 0 votes. How is it that everybody put their support behind Asue Ighodalo?
Well, they saw the future in Asue Ighodalo. That's why you see all the delegates they were not paid for. They voted their conscience. That is, everybody voted for Asue Ighodalo. So the large votes they had, I'm not surprised about it. But I knew it's going to come out in flying colors. I was expecting it already. All right. Thank you.
Okay, and my last question, what are the expectations of Asue Ighodalo if eventually he goes on to win the election and become the next governor? What are the expectations from him?
From the look of things, Asue Ighodalo have so many things upstairs. I know it's going to take Edo to a greater height. If I say I should be analyzing, maybe we won't live here. So Asue Ighodalo will take Edo to the height of the limelight. Thank you.
We really apologize. Bernard, if you can hear us, we're sorry about that. I mean, the rejoicing there is obviously reflecting on our own program because, the music is interrupting. But we're really hoping that, we can get more updates from Bernard in Edo State about how people receive Asue's victory generally. I know that Bernard can still hear us and, of course, is going to give us more updates, as it unfolds. And definitely we're going to have that conversation as well. But one thing I want to ask Adesewa is prospect enough? because a lot of times we tend to celebrate prospect. We've had situations where we're like, okay, we have someone who we've known to have worked but didn't work enough, but we have someone who has that ginger, he has that, okay, he has the vibe, he's ready to give it his all, or so it seems. So we would go for the, you know, the latter option because we believe that he has prospect. But I think more often than not, we've been proven wrong, especially in this part of the world where we both, I remember in Kogi State then, you know, before the former governor came into power, a lot of people were rejoicing, oh, he's young, he's vibrant, he's going to take the state to another level. He did take the state to another level, a different level, and it took, you know, a downward trend. So it's been that same scenario over and over again.
So I think people just, you know, hide their own special interest under the prospect thing, and you often get to hear he has prospect from people from probably political party members, because they know that if this person comes into power, he's going to do this for me, he's going to do that for me. I remember covering one by-election here in Lagos State, and I asked an old woman who was a party member, obviously, and I told her that, why are you supporting this particular candidate? And her response to me was that, I know I'm very close to him. Even before he emerges, he comes into power, he has been someone that has been nice to us in the area, nice. So probably it was a philanthropist. I don't know their relationship they had, but she said that one thing she's going to benefit from this man is that she's going to go and meet him to help her son relocate from the country. So for her, she would definitely tell you this man has prospect, because he has the prospect to give her money to send a child out of the country. So most times is what people seek to benefit from that particular person. And we should stop saying prospect at this point in time, because it has failed us too many times. And I think it's also the good PR that follows this candidate.
Well, you won't fault Nigerians, because if every means has failed, the only thing we can hope for is someone with better prospect, because the truth is we can't know how someone will deliver until the person comes into power. But another thing that baffles me, and I really would have hoped that we were able to get Bennett's feedback regarding what his experience was. Another challenge I have, especially with electoral processes in Nigeria, is the disregard for press freedom. We've talked about this over and over again, where you know, you expect people to respect the press the same way we respect security agencies, the same way we respect electoral you know, umpires and people like that. But for the press, a lot of them have to go through harassment over and over again. Marvelous was in Kogi State during the last elections, and then he got you know, he had a whole scenario where he was beaten up to pulp. And then there's Bennett, who literally, he and the team were doing their job, and then some security agencies came and have assaulted them, took his phone, and they had to go explain that, no, we're pressmen, and they're like, oh, sorry, we didn't know. That's just a very flimsy excuse. You can't do that to press people. They had their tags, they had their identity cards and things like that. So there's no excuse to maltreat press people. And for every time we bring up this issue of press freedom, I hear people say things like, even the pressmen should also know their limit. As press people, we are trained enough.
What even defines the limit?
I mean, honestly, because
limits in what sense?
No pressman would, you know, in his right senses, go and obstruct a security agency, for example, from doing his job, or obstruct the electoral umpires from doing their job, or obstruct people or disenfranchise them from voting. But we are trying to cover the news. We are the conduits between what's happening in the government and what the people need to know. We owe them that information. So if you're telling me to know my limit, I won't go on, you know, to the field without knowing what I should do. So I'm going there, and then you're dragging my camera with me, you're beating me up, and then you expect, you're saying things like I should know my limits. It's just, it has gotten so bad.
So for me, once I see that election is starting on this particular, I mean, for a primary election, this is not, you are not even bantering with an opposition party now. It's just within your own party.
Exactly.
And we're beginning to see drama, you know, erupt like this one. It just goes to show that we should probably not expect anything good from whoever emerges, because I think violence were recorded for both primary elections. And even in Labour Party too, their candidate, or the supposed candidate, one of the aspirants, is also having issues with his own party. That's Olumide Akpata. He's also having issues with the Labour Party themselves, accusing them of lack of transparency and reporting, and, you know, writing a petition to INEC.
You can imagine.
So it just shows, it's already obvious what we are likely to expect, because the major parties, you know, saying APC, PDP, and Labour Party, have, you know, to our very eyes now, we've seen that there's no unity within the party. Everybody's just fighting for, okay, what do I get away from this? So, I mean, the people should probably not expect too much from them. And if by chance, maybe Prospect can work in this case. Maybe Asue Godalo, the Apata or the APC candidates now can maybe prove the people wrong for once. Because Nigerians, or let me say Edo States, they've had to endure too many not too good experiences from governance in the past. It hasn't been all rosy for them. These are states that has their individual uniqueness that can actually make them compete very well with the biggest cities across Africa and not even the world. But because of some people's special interest in the gains from the states and just asking, you know what, it's my state and I have power, I have some people behind me, let's just do it anyhow. And this is just an indication that there's probably not going to be a free and fair election come September. Yeah. Because if we are seeing this within the party, you know, we're having an intra-party crisis. So we expect another violence during the election itself. So this is just to say that INEC should better buckle up. The security officials should also, you know, they know now what to face or what to expect in September, because it doesn't appear it's going to be a free and fair election. It
doesn't at all. And once again, I would say congratulations to Asue Godalo. And I would, most times I like to say that I feel for anyone who just gets into power because the expectation is high. Yes. The tension is a lot. So people expect that.
Especially when it's not the incumbent.
Exactly. So people expect that you're doing something immediately. It's not just by manifesto now. Your manifesto got you there. They're expecting that you take action. But people still need to realize that these people, and this is not me giving excuses for them, but a lot of times it takes time to change certain things. From on every level, you know, people inherit a certain amount of baggage, right? So for you to start seeing changes, you know, in the constitution, changes in governance, changes in the way things are run, there has to be time. So I would say that because a lot of times people tend to do things where they elect someone into power and the next day they're like, who even sent this on? Why did we vote you into power? And things like that. Yeah, I mean, if there's an amount of time. That's why most times we hear people celebrating, 50 days in office, 100 days in office. It's not just a celebration. It's a way of reminding people that this person is just 100 days in office and he has achieved this, he has done that. So I think that Nigerians, you know, we're talking earlier and we said Nigerians are hard to govern because Nigerians are always, you know, they like the fire brigade approach, you know. So we need to realize that it takes time. So whether or not this person has prospect, we don't know. But even coming into power, you don't expect this night that things are changing. So the people of Edo State need to give him time. And then if he doesn't deliver, they can now start complaining.
So my other concern is that we know Philip Shuaibu is leaving as a deputy governor. I mean, obviously he's not going to participate in the elections. So should we begin to, you know, weigh the reaction of his own party members to determine the performance of himself and his and the governor himself while they were in power? Can we say that even the party members were displeased by their performances while they were in power? Because it's just goes to show that if you cannot trust the incumbent deputy governor to continue from where the current governor is going to stop, then there's a problem. Yeah. So does it mean that they do not even trust powers to be in his hands?
Yeah. So you know, it's two different things. That's why I said earlier that it's either they don't trust him to perform because he didn't perform well enough, but there's also the situation of not trusting him because he didn't do anything. Right? There are two different options. Maybe the only person they saw then was the governor because the deputy was just a figurehead. So that is also a possibility.
Definitely. But I mean, maybe this time, this is just an indication to every state and even at the federal level that if we are going to employ either the president, the vice president should also be somebody that we can believe to be capable to actually hold the president office itself. Look at what happened in Ondo State. I mean, nobody would have envisioned to see that the current governor is going to die in power. And then now the entire destiny or lives of the people of Ondo State now lies in his hands.
So sounds like Merlin.
So, you know, you can just see what happened, what played out there. And if they are just, okay, let's just put a figurehead there just to deputize the governor. Now the figurehead is about to rule the entire state. Exactly. So imagine they had not put someone who was capable or that had prospects to deputize the late governor. They would just be left like, oh, we made a mistake. So we should begin to like be intentional about the vice and the deputies now, and not just you know, just pick anyone there, because it happened. I remember it happened during Oshibajo time. And then when the Buhari had to leave at some point for his usual medical leave, anyways, one of those medical leaves where he goes to the UK. And we know that at some point, Osinbajo did something exceptional. And it looked like we're beginning to experience Nigeria of our dreams at the point. But of course, politics played out. Some people saw that, oh, he was doing something that was going to affect some people, and then they took him out. But yes, if he did not have that prospect, if he wasn't ready to be in that particular shoes. You know, when Buhari left and put the governance in his hand, it performed well. We probably would have had it the other way. Maybe the country would have been upside down before, you know, his boss comes back. So we should begin to be intentional about those that we put into power as vice and deputies.
I think that's a very valid point. Don't just deputize for, you know, figureheads' sake. It's very essential that we choose people who are capable, both as the front runners and as the deputies as well. We'll go on a short break. It's still Report Desk Africa. When we come back, we'll take a look at a disturbing trend, you know, the downward spiral of things, the dollar against the naira, and then now the hike in fuel prices in Nigeria. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on Report Desk Africa. Remember, this is the program where we keep you up to speed, not just about the headline stories now, but also go deep into the insights to make you understand in a way that goes way beyond what you see on the papers. Now, we have talked about, you know, the Edo State primaries, and we had our correspondent. Unfortunately, we couldn't get his full view about the elections and, of course, his experience on Saturday. But we will definitely keep you up to speed on what's happening in Edo State as we owe you that much. But now we're going to go into another very crucial conversation, and that is the issue of fuel price hike in Nigeria. That is one of the many challenges that Nigerians are facing right now. Let's not even talk about how the naira is consistently taking a downward spiral. But in spite of the reassurance by President Bola Tinubu that the current petrol price will remain unchanged, long queues have again resurfaced in different parts of the country. We see people driving through and then stopping by to get fuel because the price has gone up, you know, and we see even the places where the prices are still the same, the queues are longer than usual. So some filling stations are selling as high as 800 or 1,000 per litre. Now, for those that are still selling at the normal pump price of 568 or 610, the customers have very long queues to contend with. And of course, we know what this leads to. It leads to panic buying. For some, they have simply decided to close due to lack of supply. And we're going to find out whose fault that is. So we'll take a look at this report by News Central's Chinwe Ugele as she x-rayed the situation of things in the different parts of the country.
Things torment the Nigerian citizens and make them live in sorrow all the time. In Lagos, southwest Nigeria, long queues have resurfaced in most fuel stations as some are not selling while some are selling as high as 1,000 naira per litre.
It's been very difficult getting fuel. I've almost spent the whole of this day queuing for fuel. I wonder what time I have then to do the business.
I don't think it's supposed to be difficult like this to get fuel. I'm not feeling good now. I'm not feeling happy with the current situation everywhere.
In Umuahia and Aba in Abia State, southeast Nigeria, the main issue is that of increment in the pump price, which is affecting private and commercial drivers. The masses are therefore appealing to the government to intervene and reduce the effect of the situation.
It's affecting us much, especially nothing is moving. And, you know, we can't do without fuel, you can't do without kerosene, you can't do without gas.
The situation is so bad that I'm lack of words. I'm shocked and so devastated because of what we are experiencing. Now, there is no fuel. Look at the price. Oh, what will happen to us? How can we survive?
Before, we used to spend like 3,000, 4,000 naira fuel. But now, I do buy fuel of 12,000 naira a day. 12,000, 13,000 naira, so it's not easy.
In Benin City, Edo State, Asaba Delta State, and Yenegoa in Bayelsa State, long queues and increment in pump price are their major bane. In Abia State, the Commissioner for Petroleum and Mineral Resources, Professor Joel Owunna, said there's little or nothing the government can do about the pump price increment.
It's a deregulated market. You don't know where they buy. So, to an extent, you have a limit you can force them to sell in terms of price. But what we believe that if this refinery is working, where we know the price they are selling.
It's been 2 days since the suspension of the withdrawal of services by the National Association of Road Transport Owners. Yet it has left behind a trail of artificial scarcity of petroleum products, inflated pump price, and general frustrations upon the masses. In Umuahia News Central, Chinwe Ugili.
This is a very sad state, and I do not believe that we will be talking about fuel price increase at this point in time, because to me, it's as if I'm living in, this is a dream. Honestly. This is not the Nigeria that President Tinubu promised me. I don't know about any other person. But anyway, joining us to shed more light on this is the social commentator, Gbenga Yonuga, who joins us now virtually. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Yonuga.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So first of all, as a Nigerian living in the country, just like myself and Blessings, at a time like this, where the inflation rate is soaring on a daily, and the rising cost of living is becoming, terrible, what's your immediate reaction to the recent increase in fuel price?
Well, when I heard about the increase this morning, first and foremost, for a while now, I haven't been driving. I only drive to work when it is extremely important. Maybe I have some loads to carry while coming. If not, I take public transport. It is very sad that at this moment, the government are not proactively thinking ahead of time. When this complaint by National Association of Road Transport Owners started, I'm sure that the people in government did not have plans in place as temporary stopgap to ensure that, because they know if they have been smart enough and know the trend of the country, they should be able to know that whenever there is a strike by a group like Pengasan, like NATO, and the rest of them along the value chain of our petroleum resources, it will lead to situations like this. And it is a shame that we are buying the fuel at very exorbitant price already, and yet we are not having the fuel available, despite all the promises made by the government that nothing of such will happen under their watch. I mean, I have places that I was planning to go tomorrow. I don't even know how to get fuel. And even if I know how to get fuel, I don't even know whether the amount I have budgeted for the fuel will be enough to be able to take me to and fro on that journey. So it's something that gives everyone a serious headache, irrespective of whatever you want to do. Maybe you are a pro-government person or you are from the other side of the camp, because this affects us all.
All right, Gbenga, how exactly do we explain the difference in prices? That's one of my biggest, challenges. I'm finding it hard to come to terms with the fact that in the same country, we have places where fuel is sold at 800 to 1,000. In the same country, we have places where it's sold for 568 to 610. Why should we have some stations sell at normal prices and others at these exorbitant prices?
Well, in normal situation, in normal countries, in normal countries, fuel prices are not uniform anywhere. Take, for example, the price of fuel in states like Maine or compared to states like California will be different, most definitely. If you go to France, the fuel price in Toulouse will be different from the fuel price in Paris. And that's because the whole sector has been deregulated fully in those countries. But our own situation in Nigeria is caused by the high cost of transportation. Take, for example, diesel is 1,400 to 1,500 in some places. So, and for a vehicle transporting fuel to Sokoto State, and you know they don't have any other alternative than to come to Lagos to get to Lagos Depot to get this fuel and transport to Sokoto State. To and fro, a truck will spend about 1,000 liters of fuel. At 1,400 naira, that is 1.4 million naira alone on fuel. And if you add to that the cost of repairs that will happen on the road, the cost of the amount they will settle, you know, all those people who are not supposed to be collecting tolls on road, and then other expenses here and there, it will cost approximately about 2 million naira to transport a 45,000 liters tanker from Sokoto to Lagos. That 2 million naira, they will have to add it to the cost price of the fuel before selling. And that is why if you get the fuel at a certain price in Lagos, you get it at different price in Abuja, in Bayelsa, and other parts of the country. Then for those within the same state, like within Lagos now, we have some filling station selling for 610, 630, 650, even some selling as high as 800. That is because of the speculative nature of this scarcity. You know, some people are holding the fuel they have now, not knowing how long the scarcity is going to last. And the few who are willing to sell, knowing fully well that by the time they go back to the depot to buy, the price they may meet will be different. And don't forget that for the private filling station, some of them buy for as much as 612 naira at ex-depot price. You know, the major marketers and all the rest, those ones, I don't know the structure they have in place. Their prices may be different because they are the ones shipping in this fuel by themselves. But for the private filling station, some of them pay as much as 612 naira. And if you add all the union fee, about 10 to 15 naira to each, that means to get the fuel down to the station will cost approximately from Apapa to anywhere in Lagos will cost about 617 to 620 naira to get it down to the station. So they have to add their own profit to it, and that's why you see some of them selling for. All right,
Gbenga, thank you so much. This is not a conversation that we can exhaust in a day. We're really hoping that it doesn't get worse. I mean, in Nigeria, once you think that it can't get worse, it just breaks through the wall and keeps going. But thank you so much for that, Gbenga Ayonuga, social commentator. We appreciate your time with us on the show. Well, this is what we call it a wrap on Report Desk Africa. It's been a very insightful one, and congratulations once again to the Edo State, what would I call him now? Winner of the primaries. Anyways, we're hoping that he can make it all the way through and, you know, may the best man win at the end of the day. We still have Bennett there who will definitely be giving us updates.
Yeah, definitely. May the best man win.
Indeed. It's been a beautiful time on Report Desk Africa. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to Adeshewa for standing in for Bernard.
Thank you for having me.
All right. My name is Blessings Bosugu.
And my name is Adeshewa Odeshoga. Thanks for watching.